Set 2 Clash Grounds and Alpha Clash is coming really quick. We got about 30 days to go. So with Set 2 hot on approach, we're going to go back to Set 1. We're going to look at all of the overpowered, the most played, the most liked, the most meta cards from the entire set. We're going to go through each type of cards, and I'm going to tell you all of the top cards in each of those. Now you say, what is the purpose of this? Well, the purpose is information. Information is king, at least for me. And with Set 2 approaching, I was actually just curious, which cards are the most played, which cards are the most liked from the community. And we're going to be taking a look at each one of those. And how did I get this information? Well, if you go to the website, the Alpha Clash website, which I'll leave a link in the description, the community has a bunch of decks. You need these decks in order to play on the tabletop simulator. If you're curious about how to play on the tabletop simulator, I did make a video about that as well. But all these decks are for the TTS. And so what I did was I went through every single deck and I put in all of the cards into a spreadsheet, which I'll also leave available for you. We're going to start this off with contenders. We're only going to look at the top 3, which the top 3 were significantly higher than the bottom 2. Of course, we got clarity. I love the starting ability, being able to look at the 2 cards, say, you know what, I need this, I don't need this, put it at the bottom of your deck, then do the draw step. It's awesome. Now, the top 2 contenders played was pretty much only separated by one single deck, but we have Torque the Diabolical, another one that has an amazing initial ability. Primary phase, you can engage the card. If you do, deals 1 damage. There are other Clash cards that have a very similar mechanic, but whenever a non-Clash deals damage, you can draw a card, so that's always cool. And then number 1, which I'm sure is no surprise to anybody, Magnate the Awakened. Alpha Clash cards you control get +1 defense, and then at 10 once per turn during primary phase, you may engage the card. If you do, the target opponent discards 1 card. That's pretty strong. Now let's check out the Clash Grounds. There were only 2 Clash Grounds that by far exceeded every other Clash Ground. The first one, or at least in second place, is going to be New York City. Alpha Clash cards get +2 and flight, and when you trigger, draws 1 card. Amazing Clash Ground. And then at number 1, we got Grant Park, Chicago. Now this is the most played at almost 33%, a third of all the decks that the community has Grant Park, Chicago in it. Now, personally, I think probably New York City is a little bit more overpowered than this one, but then this one is certainly played. Now, when Set 2 comes out with the introduction of the Harbingers and stuff, both this one and New York will probably see a little less, but they're still going to be pretty strong. Now let's take a look at the top 3 most overpowered, most played action cards that we have from Set 1. At number 3, we got Lefty's Last Stand. Counterattack, prevent all Clash damage that would be dealt by target attacking Clash card during this Clash. Certainly pretty strong, and at only 1 blue resource, this was one of the few cards that had a pretty decent amount in every single colored deck. Sitting at number 2, we got Here Comes the Boom. And here comes the boom, no doubt about it. And Boom is right. Deal 5 damage to all Clash cards. That is definitely bringing the boom. Definitely a really strong card. And I think the only difference between card at number 2 and card at number 1 is probably just the resource cost. And being that the resource cost is 2 less, which is why I think we saw Solar Smash being used in quite a few more decks. Actually, more than a third of the entire decks online had Solar Smash in it. Deal 3 damage to target contender or Clash card at only 2 resource. Now we got the top 3 accessories. Interesting about this that I found was there was about half as many accessories as there were action cards. I really hope in Set 2 we see a lot more accessory play, because going through all of those decks, accessories really didn't seem like it played that much of a factor, and they were pretty spread out. I guess maybe you could say more balanced. but also not quite as used as much either. But either way, we got number 3, Magnate's Trap. Counterattack. Send attacking clash card with an initial resource cost of 2 or less to Oblivion. Then the card's controller discards 1 card. This is pretty strong. I love this trap. And then at number 2, for the most played / overpowered, I guess, better luck next time. Counterattack. Target attacking clash card gets -3/-3 until end of turn. Pretty nice trap. And the king, or I guess in this case, the queen of accessories is going to be Moxie's Sidearm. This kind of surprised me. I mean, there are similar cards like Clarity's 1911 that do literally the exact same thing. The only difference is white, black. I guess people found more use for having black in the deck than they did with white. But either way, attached clash card gets +1/+1. And like I said, this isn't crazy overpowered. I mean, this isn't nuts, you know, or anything like that. But being that it has low resource cost, it is a weapon. You can attach it, get an extra +1 and +1. It is pretty nice. I mean, overpowered in certain cases is like Moxie's heavy power armor. But the problem with that is you need the right situation, the right scenario for really you to make it overpowered. Now, what I'm sure everybody's been waiting for, the Clash cards, top 5 this time. And thing to note before we get into these, there are certainly ones that are more OP than the ones we're going to talk about. You know, take this Kagan, the Dragon Flight triggers, send target Clash card to Oblivion. This card is absolutely a monster. Very, very strong, but 6 resources. And so the reason why that some of these cards, especially the really strong cards, really overpowered, the most powerful in some of the cases, reason why they don't get as much play as the other cards is because of its high resource cost. So let's kick this off. Number 5, Magnate, the Cunning Planner. A lot of these are probably not going to surprise you, but trigger. On defeat, you may draw 1 card. This is pretty strong, pretty darn strong, especially when you can use it when you trade with your opponent. And then at number 4, we got Flare. 1 resource cost, you know, much like the last one. Part of the reason why some of these cards are so popular is because of the resource cost, but their ability also makes them super overpowered and strong for given what the resource cost is. And so once per turn during primary phase, you can engage the card. If you do, deal 1 damage to target clash card or contender. And then at number 3, we got Haven, Hiding in Plain Sight. This ability is amazing. Trigger, when you enter, you can choose to give your contender 2 health, or you can draw 1 card. Sits at 2 defense, I mean, for only 2 resources. And then at number 2, we got Haven again, the Bountiful Collector. This one has, again, a very unique, at least to the cards from set 1, very unique ability. When you enter, you may put 1 card from your hand into the resource zone. I mean, you need those resources. Resources are so precious in this game. And so having that extra 1 from this card, amazing. Plus, when it gets defeated, you can return a non-trap accessory from your Oblivion to your hand. You can only play 1 per turn, but at only 2, I'm sure you got 4 of them in there, turn after turn after turn. And then sitting at number 1, well, Haven again. I tell you, this girl absolutely runs the Clash cards, and you'd be hard pressed from 1, 2, and 3 if you didn't see a Haven in some deck. This card in particular sits at almost 50% of the entire decks in the community has this card in it. The Resourceful Helper, trigger, enter, you may draw 1 card, especially at only 1 resource. There are plenty of cards that do have this same sort of mechanic, but being that this one's white, you can definitely put in other decks. And it does have 2 defense as well. I personally like, you know, the previous one, the Hiding in Plain Sight, as well as the other Haven card. I do like both of those probably better than this one. but this is very, very easy to use, and sitting at almost 50%. That's crazy. Let me know in the comments, what are some of your favorite cards that we did not mention in today's video that, you know, with a deck you play that can make them really strong, really powerful. I really like the Lin, the Nanite Warrior. I think this is having close combat and interception. I love this card, probably one of my favorites in the game, but let me know in the comments which ones did we miss that maybe not a lot of people use that other people should, you know, give it a chance. Now, real quick, like I said, I will leave the link for the spreadsheet if you're interested in that in the description, and just showing you what it looks like so you can see, you know, exactly what you're looking at. I have listed the color, and next to the color is the resource cost. So in the first column is going to be the color and the resource cost. Then we have the name in the next one, obviously. And then as far as up here at the top, where it says white, black, red, that is what deck it is in. And I know there's going to be dual colored decks, but it's just for the sake of argument, it is the contenders color. So clarity, obviously, you know, you're going to put under white. And so anytime clarity is the contender, this is what the results have been in all of the decks, how many times each specific card is used, and the percentage. And I did that with all of them. I did it with the accessories, with the action cards, with the clash cards, with the contenders. 162 total decks we searched through just to see what everybody plays and what is considered probably the most meta, strongest, most overpowered, and all that stuff. I'm going to be really interested to see on what happens to these cards, to the meta cards, to the strongest cards, the most powerful, most played cards once set 2 comes out. That was kind of another reason why I wanted to do this. I kind of wanted to compare, you know, how much certain cards are being played during set 1 and see if any of that changes for set 2. You know, there's certainly lots of cards, or some cards anyway, that could really use some help, like the Avenging Guy trying to help. 3 resource green, who only got played twice out of 162 decks, which is the least played card in the entire game, was the Avenging Guy trying to help. And he's trying to help, but nobody wants his help because he's useless, I guess, to everybody. And so, you know, cards like that, I'll be interested to see, you know, if they get any help, literally help, when his help isn't any good. But beyond that, hopefully this video helped you. I found it very interesting to find, you know, what everybody uses, what everybody plays. And hopefully you can make some use out of it, you know, just to see what cards go which color, and kind of the meta for season 1 as we stop and, you know, get to season 2. We got 1 month to go. Either way, though, hopefully you did enjoy. If you did, hit the thumbs up, and I will see y'all again soon. Subscribe if you're new. Take it easy, guys.